I'd like to call the Bradford Executive Village Board of Education July 19th regular meeting to order. Could we stand for the pledge? Roll call, please.
Dr. Swab,
Here.
Mrs. Brewer,
Here.
Pastor Reindl,
Here virtually.
Mr. Biesecker,
Here.
Mr. Manuel.
Here.
I'd like to welcome everyone here this evening. We're broadcasting as well as live in room 404. Next, we're going to review the agenda. Do you have any additions or deletions to the agenda we have printed? If not, do I have a motion to approve? Thank you, Scott.
A second.
And Trey, second. And roll call for approval.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reindl, Mr.
Here.
Biesecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Next item is our June 21st minutes. We have a motion to approve,
So moved.
and I will second. Any discussion or questions? If not, roll call for approving the minutes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reindl,
Yes.
Mr. Biesecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Next item is administrative reports, and first up is Mrs. Brewer for an update from the Career Center.
The only thing I have is August 16th is scheduled pickup and open house. The 17th junior start and the 18th senior start. Not long, like a few weeks.
That's fast, isn't it? Mhm.
That's all
Any
I have.
questions?
They're having a meeting right now. I don't make it because I have to be here, so I don't have the latest.
Next is up is Mr. Hurst.
Okay, I have a couple things to share out today. First of all is we've got a football update, and I'm going to let Mr. Barr and Mrs. Thompson tell us where we are with that and kind of give us an update on where we're going.
I'm sorry, I didn't start.
Go ahead. I'll fill it.
Okay.
You've done all of it.
So we are currently sitting at 10 committed kids, obviously, but, it's not enough for the football team. So we, at this point, we've had a meeting, and that was kind of the catalyst to more in-depth, conversations and trying to figure out.
Joe, I'm not able to hear any of that.
A few weeks ago, where only a few kids showed up. There were a few on a mission trip, so we counted for them. There's still only about 8 kids. So last week, the coaching staff and I spent some time making phone calls to all 9th through 12th graders, which got us up to 10 as of today. Now, there's also quite a few maybes. I don't know where any of those stand. The coaches are getting answers on them slowly coming in. So there's still a few maybes out there and quite a few that we left voicemails for as well. I have not personally gotten any answers back email-wise or phone calls, text, nothing. But a few of the coaches have. So we are going ahead with practice on Thursday and hoping that we can get to a comfortable number after Thursday, hopefully. But right now we are looking very slim.
I did hear that there's like 5 or 6 that said, we'll play if we have a team, but we're not going to.
Yes, and that's a lot of the issue
If
is,
someone else plays, I'll play.
yes.
That's a lot of it. You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Which, that's a
One of
lot
them
of
needs
it.
to step up and say, I'll play.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, those are factored into the, I didn't answer the phone, left voicemails for a few of them, and then a few of those are also the maybes as well. So there are quite a few that are, I'll play if there's enough, I'll play if there's enough. And I do understand where they're coming from when there's 12, 13 kids like there has been in the past. Injuries are terrifying, I don't know what that's like as a parent, but I'm sure it's horrifying sending your kid out there to the wolves essentially. But in order to combat that, we have to have everyone playing essentially. So it's a
You
huge
have a
catch-22.
Magic number to make a team.
We talked about that today. We discussed 16, but I mean, what's the difference between 15 and 16, 16, 17? You know, it's still not, I mean, I think last year our numbers got up to 21, and then I believe at one point in time at the end of the season, we had 15, 16
Right.
healthy bodies to finish the last 2-3 weeks of the season. You know, if you have those types of injuries with 15, 16, now you're down to barely being able to put a squad on the field. And they're playing every single minute of every single game, no matter if it's kickoff, kick return, punt return, all of it. It's not just I play offense, I play defense.
Oh,
So-
we've never had that. We've never had offense.
No, yeah.
We've always had.
Yeah,
that.
these kids have no idea what that's
I was used to doing that at a much bigger school myself, so I understand. So, you know, obviously we have, our number one focus always is going to be safety. And, you know, I don't know if there's a true magic number. I mean, I would say probably 16, 17, and hope that we don't have too many injuries all at the same time, or we don't have any injuries at all, really. But that's just not the nature of the beast with football. You know, like Chloe said, there were 60 phone calls made, or over 60 phone calls. And we did take into account some of our students in the building that just can't simply play football. So we didn't call all 77 boys at the high school level, or they didn't, excuse me. But, you know,
Are there many
we are trying.
ineligible? Do we have many ineligible?
There's a
We only have 5 ineligible.
There's a
6?
small handful.
Yeah.
And those were obviously, we didn't call them.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
by the time the second quarter, because the football season has been shifted as well, because OHSA tournament has changed. By the time they get back from that second quarter, there's only 1 week left
Right.
at that point. So
Right.
we didn't call the ineligible kids.
So there are 5 that could.
About,
Right
yeah.
there, 5, 6, somewhere. in
I'd
that
have to look at
neighborhood.
my list again, but yeah,
Not-
there's,
Not a ton.
no, there's really not a lot.
Did we
Which is
lose
good.
any from, with those ineligible, we didn't lose any that were,
Previous
No.
players, no,
No,
right,
no.
nobody that has previously played.
So all freshmen are eligible,
Yes.
correct?
No,
No, they have
So
to
they
meet
don't
the
have
grades.
all seventh graders.
All 7th graders are eligible.
Okay.
So now on the flip side of that, we have 18 to 20, 22 junior high football players. So, you know, this is by no means ever going to be a discussion of not having football, period. This is, you know, how do we scratch by and this year and prepare and build for the future. So that's all the things that Joe and Chloe and I have been discussing for the last week.
Yeah, and that junior high team, I did talk to the coaches again today. They're pretty split right down the middle. And then you've got to think, we also have, I believe, 8 kids that are golfing, 8 boys that are golfing, and then we have 5 to 6 that are planning to run cross country at this point. Now, nothing is mandatory for them until August 1, so those numbers could change a little bit, but that's 13, 14-ish kids that are doing something else in the spring or in the fall. And then, you know, there might be a couple band kids as well that don't want to do both either, so. It's,
How many juniors and
our
seniors?
77 is dwindling. 77 total dwindles pretty quickly when you factor everything else in, so.
You guys have worked out. Seems to be okay. Lucky you, huh?
Do they have a breakdown of how many juniors and seniors there are?
Participation at other schools, you know, if they've got 75 boys in 9th through 12th grade, you know, how do we compare with them as far as
We
participation?
are the smallest, if not one of the smallest schools that has football.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
I knew that. I just
so-
didn't know if we were in line with, you know,
I
a
heard
certain
Covington only had
percentage.
17 or 18.
50.
Yes.
15?
They're,
So-
they're struggling right now, and
Mhm.
I don't know exactly what class sizes are right now, but when I graduated,
75.
there was 76 of us, and that's double what we have here, basically. So they're struggling. I know there's other teams in our conference that have been there and have come back or are still in that right now. Ansonia was struggling for a while. They were really struggling for a while. Mississinawa's usually about where we're at numbers wise. They have an enrollment that's higher, 50-ish, that's higher than us. So that helps, but we're not alone in this fight. I don't think that makes me feel better, but
So I don't know if I answered your question.
No, I didn't know if anybody ever looked at it.
I,
I drove by Troy High School the other day and they were out there practicing. There looked like probably 100 kids out there. So I went back and Googled what their
enrollment is,
enrollment was.
yeah, well,
Just to see, and, just by my
yeah,
count driving by, I would say they're probably 8 to 10% of their, so if we've got 77, take everybody doing other fall sports, so say we're down to 50, 10% of that's 5 kids. So we're
Yeah.
above the average. Yeah, that's what, I mean, that's what kind of got me in that line. Of
I
thinking.
never looked like that far into it, but yeah, that makes sense.
And so if we're fighting that battle, and that's gonna be a continual battle for us, then I know, and I know nothing about football, never played in my life, don't know nothing about it. But I know in Oklahoma, they had 11-man football for bigger schools, they had 9-man football for smaller schools.
and the state has adopted, or they're pushing for an
Okay.
8.
I didn't
There's
know
an
if there was
8
other
and
options
8.
out
There is,
There's an 8 option.
yes,
there. Okay.
And as of 2019, I couldn't find anything from like the 2020 season. They haven't put anything out to where I can find information.
Wasn't that the year it was canceled?
21 would have been last season, so we
Okay.
would have had it. And I couldn't find anything. Now, 2019 was the first year that the state allowed the 8-man, and that year there was only 8 teams. And they were up near like the Toledo-ish area, Toledo-Cleveland area. And I did try and put a phone call out, and I emailed him as well, the football man over at OHSAA. Hopefully I'll hear back from him soon, just to get an idea of how many teams there are currently.
I think as a whole, that may be something that the smaller districts like us need to look at.
Is there an option just to have JV football this year? If we can field a team, can we just start with JV? Or does nobody have varsity university?
the problem with that is schedules are already set. Now, that being said, with the JV schedule, I was a head baseball coach. It was nothing for us to play Covington 3 times or whatever. And with JV football, you can do that a little bit where you don't want to, but a lot of schedules are already set. And then depending on if we played National Trail and they had a lot of injuries that Friday night, we may lose our Saturday morning game. So what we could have scheduled could very easily go away.
Football is just, nobody bats an eye if we don't have a JV girls basketball team. Nobody bats an eye if there's no JV baseball, but football from a scheduling standpoint is just so much more difficult. I mean, we currently in our conference, we only have to fill a week 1 schedule, but we do that 2, 3, 4 years out just because, we get down to 3, 4 weeks before season starts and nobody has availability because we've all had our schedules filled for years. So we run into that issue, and I don't know what the conference would say to that option anyway. Not sure how they would feel about that.
Okay.
Is that everything?
So what's the plan? We don't get to-
Our hope and plan is Thursday, we have 16, 17 kids show up.
That's a
But being more realistic,
When does it start, man?
Thursday.
We can't make anything mandatory until August 1.
Uh-huh.
But these are conditioning, non-mandatory, but
Uh-huh.
we need to know if you're playing type of situation. So
Thursday, they have a practice at 4 in the hopes that if we only have 10 or 11, maybe on Friday we have more. So
Do you have a date in mind?
Monday, I think we discussed Monday,
Call.
just to be fair
Oh,
to
yeah.
everyone
Absolutely.
involved.
I've
Not
got
only
a
us,
fake
but
schedule in my head I'm like putting together to help the conference out if this does happen. So, because we're putting them in a huge bind and our week 1 as well. That's a little easier to find because most conferences, most everybody in the world has a week 1 opening, needs a week 1 opening, so. But
Other questions or comments or suggestions or feedback?
I also heard that, like FM was struggling with the soccer team.
they don't have
So-
soccer now.
Right, so it's not just, it's football, it's the fall, I don't know if it's the fall sport or,
I think it's
it's
in
athletics in
athletics in
general.
general.
I mean, it's not like it was when I was in school. It's not like kids are working more and that's,
You do all your athletic teams
mhm.
from fall through the spring, and everybody is struggling to put the team on field.
And
In the
it's
gyms
easier,
and-
football's gotta be the worst as far
Oh, it
as,
is, yeah.
because it requires so many numbers.
Yes.
It's easy to put 5 kids out there to play basketball.
Finding 11 is a little more difficult.
Well, and we have to find the biggest team we need to field on the most congested season. They've got 2 other options, whereas in
Right.
this fall or the winter and the spring, there's only 2 options total. Now we have 3 in the fall, so same number of kids, but add an extra sport in there. And the other 2, and I don't want to take away from the other 2 in the fall because they're doing really well. I mean, golf numbers are really good. Cross country is going to keep going up, I'm sure, once August 1 hits. So I don't want to take anything away from the others, but it just, there's a lot going on. It makes it even more difficult to
And
stay.
can they do both?
Yes.
They can, yes.
And we've had lots of kids do both.
Mhm.
We had a couple last year doing both. So
It's possible.
we had Connor Jones doing things a few years ago. So, I mean, he did them all very well. But he had that mindset too. So,
Takes a special athlete to
yes.
do that.
Any other questions? Thanks for your update. Wish you the best. I think you'll be fine.
I mean, we are trying.
Please. And I think that's probably good. Thank you, guys. All right, construction update. We have word that the folks that are building the bus barn will be here by the end of the week to start on that. We don't know for sure. The original plan was they were going to come in and do the footer and the concrete work and leave it set for a little bit and then come back and do the stick build and everything else. But we don't know right now if they're just going to forge through it and get it done right now, or if it's still going to be in 2 phases. So one way or the other, they're going to be here this week. We're happy about that. The rest of it, we met with the architect and all of the potential bidders that are going to be here for the track project and football project, and had the pre-bid meeting with that next Thursday. All the bids are due into us by 1 o'clock, and we will open those up at 1 o'clock. Carla will be leading that charge, and we will actually see what the track is going to cost us at that point. So we'll see kind of the real numbers associated with that. Each of those will be attached to basically a schedule, so we'll be able to pinpoint, a better line of when things are going to happen out here and that progression. If anyone is interested, I do have a bidder's packet over here and a full set of blueprints. If anybody wants to check those out here, or if anybody out there in the watching world right now wants to come in and check those out, please swing by the office and we'll share those with you. Let's see. With that, since the bids are going to be open on Thursday, we're meeting on the following Tuesday with the architect to go through those bids and say, okay, this one's better because of this, but here's a negative with it. Is that better or worse than this bid? And we'll go through all that on Tuesday next week. And then on Thursday, and I say next week, that's wrong. The 2nd of August, Tuesday, is when we go through that. Thursday, the 4th of August is when we will award those contracts to the bidders. So sometime between Tuesday and Thursday, that first week of August, we may need to get together here. I'm going to say we will need to get together here. We could do that Tuesday night, Wednesday night, or Thursday morning. We would kind of like to talk about possibilities of you guys, your schedules while you're all here today. So do you have any input on those 3 days of,
I would be available Tuesday or Tuesday all day.
okay?
Oh, no, I have shoes for Tuesday morning. So Tuesday afternoon and on.
Yep.
And Wednesday, but not Thursday.
Okay.
Wednesday anytime.
Anybody else? Good schedules? What's that?
So just say when.
Okay.
Can't Wednesday at 6. Another meeting.
Okay. Tuesday or Thursday earlier? Tuesday anytime, Thursday earlier. Either one.
I don't think that's the only meeting I have this evening in my schedule.
Okay.
Tuesday night.
Gonna check your schedule, Mr. Bisecker?
Yeah.
Check my schedule.
As your people
That
get
one
busy.
Tuesday.
Pastor Louis, nod your head. Is Tuesday good for you? Yes. What,
The second.
second? And Wednesday, I'm assuming is something you'd like to stay away from? Louis?
Throughout the summer, Wednesday is not a major problem.
Right now.
We have something on Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So Wednesday, we will stay away from Thursday. How's that look for you, Louis? If it's earlier in the day?
I
Something.
can make that.
Okay. Okay, I think we've got a target then. I'll talk to the architects tomorrow, make sure the schedules line up. We'll go ahead and set that and publish it and get it out sometime soon. That being said, I think that's all of my report unless anybody's got questions. Okay, I'm going to put my headphones on so I can listen to Pastor Lee.
Sounds good, thanks. Next, Mr. Bird, do you have anything for us tonight?
Just a little bit of an update on some items. Because of the financing that we've done last year, I'm working on financial statements. We have reports that we have to make out each year on that. And I've been working on that and trying to get some of the data together. Had a successful close to the business year. We actually fared much better than I thought we could. We'll be working through the ESSER's money this year and trying to put that into play. And there's lots of things that we have to worry about with maintenance of effort and some of those items, but ESSER's money allows us to spend some dollars. So we're going to look to that to work through some of our dollars so we can use some of the money that we have to do for additional costs through the track, through the general fund. But hopefully we've got enough money in the budget to make all that work. One of the things when Mr. Hurst talked about the project is this is an interesting project because we have a great number of alternates in this project. So it's going to take some work on the architect's part to determine which will be the most advantageous for us to do. And they'll have to work with us very closely because we did so many alternates because with the pricing and COVID, we didn't know how things would go. And we wanted to make sure that we could at least get the base bids through. So Mr. Hurst did a great job this last week of going through all the items. We've been working back and forth to make sure that everything was done the way that we feel that it needs to be done, so there's no surprises. And I think that's going to be a successful project. So I'd like to come back with a financial report at some time and tell you about little things about this year. It's been an interesting year for the finances. I think a positive year, but just some highlights that I'd like to give you. So with that, I will conclude my report.
Any questions?
I forgot to add, there is a rendering at each of your tables here of kind of what this is going to look like with a little bit of color and a little bit of additional graphics in there. And I'll try to put this up here to the camera, but we hope this is what we end up with when we're all said and done. One of the things that's additional here is this D zone down on the end. That's an alternate, that's an upgrade. If the dollars come back low enough, we'll fill that entire thing in with track surface. Otherwise, it'll be grass.
So this parking lot is addition to what we have now,
Which parking lot?
this. That's all.
No,
we-
that's
what
the
we have.
existing.
That's what we have, okay. Oh, yeah, I see the green.
Yeah, we did take this rendering doesn't have the islands in there. Some of those have been taken out.
Any other questions? No. Thanks. I didn't have any requests for public participation, did you? So next, we move on to the financial reports from the treasurer, items 1 through 11. The superintendent recommends approving the financial journal, the check register, the permanent appropriations, item 4 listed of then and now certifications. Item 5 is approving transfers and advances. Item 6 is temporary and permanent appropriations amendment as necessary. Item 7 is opening account with Caldwell Sutter Capital Inc. for transferring our account from Banning. Item 8 is approving an increased line of credit for the Shell Fleet credit card to $6,900. Item 9 is approval and engagement with the Ohio Auditor of State for conversion software. Item 10 is application for a water bottle refilling station grant from the EPA. Item 11 is accepting a donation from the class of 2015 for $2,000 for Strawberry Festival trash cleanup. Have a motion to approve those listed items.
Move.
Second.
Any discussion or questions or clarification needs on those items? Hearing none, then roll call for approval.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Next, we have no old business. We have new business items 1 through 18. Superintendent recommends approving the following items, which is item 1 is resignations and employment, so supplemental contracts for coaching. And A, classified personnel, substitute bus driver, and Seth Myers is an MS high school science teacher. Then we have resignations of Nicole Hackett and Marcus Calvert. Item 2 is approving a contract with Direct Energy Business Marketing. Item 3 is approving the Jumpstart program for incoming kindergarten. Item 4 is approval of no more than 3 of Bradford's teachers for the Jumpstart program. Item 5 is a contract, if needed, with Ansonia local schools to transport Bradford students to Franklin Monroe Junior High. Item 6 is an agreement with the Bradford Exempted Village District and the Council on Rural Services for a joint preschool program. Item 7 is a contract with Pay Schools for free or reduced meal application tracking. Item 8 is changing the substitute teacher license requirements per the Ohio Department of Education requirements and Dark County ESC guidelines. Item 9 is provide 50% of the medical insurance for all bus drivers contracted for 4 hours per day that are hired on or after July 1st of 2022. Item 10 is a contract with Collins Writing for teacher professional development for 2022-2023. Item 11 is utilizing a grant from the Dark County Health Department to compensate the school nurse for additional hours worked with the Dark County Health Department in the management of COVID-19. Item 12 is approving the repair fees for technology as listed. Item 13 is approving the gate admission for athletics as set by the WOAC conference as listed. Item 14 is approving the use of the Bradford Exempted Village Education's bus and driver for a community event sponsored by Summer Smiles. Item 15 is approving the golf team out-of-state travel to Union City for a golf tournament. Item 16 is tuition reimbursement for Roberts. Number 17 is approving a contract with Spirit Medical to provide transportation to students in Dark County. Item 18 is approving a contract with Dark County ESC for contracted service for a hearing interpreter for the 2022-2023 school year. We have a motion to accept those items before us.
So moved.
In a second.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. Scott? Any discussion or questions regarding items 1 through 18 before us?
So on item 18, I forgot, but it's a new item, so when I called, I forgot to talk about that. We don't employ that person anymore? Didn't we employ them?
It is the same person that we've had for years, but they have always been an ESC employee either through Miami County or Dark County. That entire 5 years she's been here. So this is nothing new. This is just a continuation.
Okay.
With a slight raise, of course.
Any other questions or clarifications? If none, roll call for approving these items.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
And the next item is item 19, which is approval of a memorandum of understanding with the Bradford Education Association concerning Article XIXE.1. And motion to approve.
Okay.
And let's go a second. Any discussions or questions?
This is I think, a very needed piece that came from negotiations. I think it'll help a group of teachers that were basically a niche group that found the short end of a stick after what we changed in the negotiation. So hopefully this clarifies and makes that whole.
Sounds great. If no other questions, roll call for approval, please.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Next is item 20. This is approving employing Sean Schaefer as a full-time bus driver for 2022-2023. We have a motion to approve,
So moved.
and I will second. Any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call for approval.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
And next is motion to enter executive session regarding item G1 on your agenda. Have a motion to approve
Move.
and a second.
I'll second.
Maria, roll call for entering executive session.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
7:02 and enter executive session with no actions to be taken after the executive session. Thanks. Next is a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second, roll call for adjournment whenever you are ready.
Oh, my.
Good one.
There it is. Who was the first and second on that?
Maria was the first and Scott was the second. And we were out of executive session at 8:11.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker,
Yes.
Mr. Manuel.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We stand adjourned.